Poet Laureate, Tsegaye Gabre-Medhin. He was born in a village called Boda, near the larger spa town of Ambo in the Shewa zone of Ethiopia, in 1936. His cattle herder father was not at home at the time of his birth, having joined the resistance fighters against the occupation of Ethiopia by Italy that began that same year. Gabre-Medhin's father was an Oromo, the largest single ethnic group in the country, but his mother was of Amharic stock, a highlands people who spoke an entirely separate language from Orominya, the Oromo tongue. As a result, Gabre-Medhin grew up with fluency in both languages. He also learned Ge'ez, an ancient religious language used in various Ethiopian church liturgies. Ethiopia's future poet laureate, the young genius, Tsegaye Gabre-Medhin, was barely a teen when in 1942 Eth.Cal. He wrote his first play, The Story of King Dionysus and of the Two Brothers, and saw it staged in Ambo Elementary School. It was watched by, among others, Emperor Haile Sellassie himself. After a stint at a secondary school in Addis Ababa, the capital, Gabre-Medhin earned a Bachelor of Laws degree from the Blackstone School of Law in Chicago by correspondence. He won a scholarship from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization (UNESCO) that enabled him to travel to abroad for study at two famed venues, the Royal Court Theatre in London and France's Comèdie Française. When he returned to Ethiopia in 1960, he took a position as artistic director with the Haile Selassie I Theatre, which would later be renamed the Ethiopian National Theatre. He directed plays and worked with the theatre's renowned School of Drama, and soon his own new works were being staged in the city. The first of these was Joro de Gif Mumps, in 1959, followed in quick succession by Listro, Shoe Shine Boy, Igni Ba Metahu, Back with a Grin, Chulo Errand Boy, and Yamama Zaytane Milk Mother's Nine Faces, among many others. In addition to writing and producing Amharic plays including Yedem Asmara, Blood Harvest, Yesho Aklil, Crown of Thorns, and Joro de Gef Mumps during this period, playwright Tsegaye also wrote scores of short poems in English, some of which are reproduced in Ethiopia Observer, 1965. And he wrote a prize-winning essay for Fulbright Fellowship competition on What Does World Brotherhood Mean to Me, in 1959. He returned to Ethiopia in 1960 to run the municipality company at the National Theatre and establish a school which produced a number of leading Ethiopian actors. Realizing the usefulness of Shakespeare in the making of dangerous political points, he translated Macbeth and King Lear. He also translated Molière's Tartuffe, and wrote a play in English called Oda Ok Oracle, which was performed in theatres in Ethiopia, Britain, Denmark, Italy, Romania, Nigeria, Tanzania and the US, and still appears on reading lists in Black Studies departments. His handful of English-language plays include Tedros, first staged in Addis Ababa in the early 1960s, and Oda Ok Oracle, a legend of black peoples, told of gods and God, of hope and love, of fears and sacrifices. This latter work was published by Oxford University Press in 1965, a year after it premiered in Addis Ababa. The plot centered upon a couple, Shenka and Ukuti, who marry according to the decree of their village oracle. The priest also instructs that their firstborn child must be slain in a sacrifice to the ancestor spirits, but Shenka and Ukuti attempt to thwart this fate with predictably tragic results. Another of Tsegaye's plays, Petros at the Hour, tells the story of Abuna Petros, an Ethiopian bishop, who accompanied Ethiopia's freedom fighters in their struggle to resist the Italian fascist occupation. Captured by the enemy on the outskirts of Addis Ababa, he was subjected to a trumped-up show trial, which reduces the audience to tears. But it was Yekermuso, Tomorrow's Man, which established his place in Ethiopian theatre. Drawing from Ge'ez and Amharic and Orominya, he was able to coin phrases which, in normal Amharic language, don't exist, but are powerful and expressive, says Tamrat Gebeyahu, author of the Ethiopian entry in the World Encyclopedia of Contemporary Theatre. Thus it was a pleasure to hear his characters talk, even though chances were you did not understand 50% of what they were saying. In 1966, aged 29, he became the youngest person ever to receive the Haile Selassie I Prize for Amharic Literature. Poet Tsegaye also writes in Oromifa and is conversant in French as well. And in 1969 he won a Gold Merit Award as Outstanding Alumnus from his alma mater, the commercial school, now college. He spent 1971–72 in Senegal as a fellow of what is now named Cheikh Anta Diop University of Dakar, to do research on African culture, literature, and Black Egyptian studies. Poet Laureate Tsegaye was awarded the Commander of the National Order of the Republic of Senegal at that time by President Léopold Sédar Senghor. At numerous points in his career, poet Tsegaye has also been Fulbright Fellow and lectured in several U.S. institutions. In the mid-70s, he was briefly appointed Vice Minister of the Ethiopian Ministry of Culture and Sports, and in 1977–78 he was Assistant Professor and Founder-Director of the Department of Theatre Arts at Addis Ababa University. He has also served as Secretary-General 1978–79 of Ethiopian Peace, Solidarity and Friendship House. Briefly, he was appointed Minister of Culture, but Haile Sellassie was deposed by Mengistu Hailemariam and, during the Red Terror in 1975, Tsegaye and the playwright Ilna Malatu spent months together in a prison cell. Ilna, who remained friends with Tsegaye for the rest of his life, remembers a daily 11 a.m. roll call of men to be killed, and the day his own name came up, it was mispronounced, and Tsegaye seized on the mispronunciation to argue they had the wrong man, thus saving Ilna's life. They wrote poems and plays on the paper bags their food came in. Agate prop came into its own under the Marxist regime, as did Tsegaye's own brand of declamatory nationalism. He wrote a Not Alem Tenu, or Mother Cower Age, though he borrowed only the title, and Ha Who Besidest were ABC in 6 months, which referred to the period of the emperor's deposition. In 1979 he helped to establish the Theatre Arts Department at Addis Ababa University, where he is remembered as being very strict and aloof. In 1993, after Mengistu Hailemariam was in turn deposed, he wrote a companion piece to Ha Who Besidest were. This was Ha Who Wanis Pe Pu, A or Z, a play about peace, which the current regime banned. He produced historical plays based on the lives of Menelik Band, Tedros Band, and on Zire Dares, as well as Gamo, a play on the Ethiopian Revolution which was also banned. He adapted Shakespeare's Hamlet for the stage band, and subsequently staged some of these plays and published them abroad. In 1984, poet Laureate Tsegaye wrote a powerful long essay, Footprint of Time, delineating Ethiopia's place in world culture and history, especially in light of paleoanthropological. Lucy finds 1974 that marks Hadar area in a far land of Ethiopia to be the nascence of humankind. During this period also poet Laureate Tsegaye received Gold Mercury International Ad Persona Award for Ethiopian Literature, 1982. He was Fulbright Senior Resident Fellow at Columbia University, 1985. He was co-winner, for the lyrics, of OAU African Unity Anthem Prize, 1986, and winner of Ethiopia's Golden Red Star Award, 1987. There are persistent reports that the actors were beaten while on tour. Despite this, I like to go out and communicate with the common folk of Ethiopia, Tsegaye wrote in 1999. The peasant, the patriot, the soldier, the trader, the housewife, the priest, the sheikh. It is from them that I learn about my country and people. And generally their comments are accompanied by tears, their stories are mostly melancholy, their memories are bitter and tragic. It is that which I reflect in my writings. That is why my plays dwell on tragedy. One of Tsegaye's passionate interests throughout this time was in the struggle to regain Ethiopia's looted treasures. Tsegaye was no less insistent that Britain should return the manuscripts, crosses, tents and other loot taken, unjustly, as he saw it, from Emperor Tewodros's mountain citadel of Magdala in 1868. Much of this loot is currently in the British Museum and British Library, as well as in Britain's Royal Library in Windsor Castle, which currently holds 6 remarkably finely illustrated Ethiopian manuscripts. Tsegaye always believed in the unity of the Ethiopian people and felt that this by far transcended purely political matters of the day. In later years he concerned himself increasingly with questions of peace, human rights and the dignity of humanity. He was elected to the United Poets Laureate International, and received many international awards, the most recent of them from Norway. His outstanding literary contributions as well as his advocacy of peace and human rights causes have been recognized and honored by peer groups and human rights bodies. Accordingly, in 1994 the New York-based Human Rights Watch organization awarded poet Tsegaye Gabre-Medhin its prestigious Free Expression Award. Poet laureate Tsegaye also published two of his poems in English entitled Aesop and Nile in Ethiopian Register in 1997. The Congress of World Poets and United Poets Laureate International, meeting in Buckinghamshire, England in 1997, honored him with the prestigious Gold Laurel Award with the title of Honorable Poet Laureate. And he is a member of the United Poets Laureate International. Ever true to his African aspirations, in 2002 he composed a poem on the continent's cultural heritage, which the newly established African Union adopted as its anthem. It read, "All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of his sky, let us make Africa the tree of life." Gabre-Medhin's health declined in his later years, and he and his wife were forced to move to New York City in 1998, where some of their 6 children already lived, in order to be near a dialysis center for regular treatment that would forestall kidney failure. Such machines were almost non-existent in the Horn of Africa. He remained active, promoting Ethiopian culture, until the end. He is survived by his wife Lekech Baitu, 3 daughters, Yodit, Millet and Adi, and 3 sons, Ayanu, Estefanos and Hailu. Ethiopia's greatest living playwright, an acclaimed poet laureate, born August 17, 1936, died in Manhattan on 25 February 2006, at the age of 69.